Why? Honestly, that's what keeps me up at night. Hey everyone, your local Capcom fanboy Fox here, and wow, did I get a lot more questions than I was expecting. So, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to answer all of these, but I will save the ones I don't answer for an eventual later Q&A because I'm certain at some point in the future I'll be stalling for time again while I'm working on a much bigger video. So with all that said, let's jump into the questions. How do you edit your videos? Terribly. Will you ever consider doing YouTube full time? It's definitely on the table. It's not something I'm really focusing on for now, but depending on where this channel kind of goes, it is something I would consider doing, but for right now I do like having a sustainable income at a job and then doing YouTube as a part-time gig that just kind of gives me supplementary cash in my pocket. For right now, this is mostly just something I've been doing for fun, but again, depending on where it goes, we'll see where that takes me. What do you see for the future of this channel? I love your look at everything Devil May Cry. You had actually got me so into it, I went and bought the HD collection. Oh, thanks man, I'm glad to hear it. In regards to the future of this channel, honestly, it's kind of at a crossroads where the next 6 months is kind of gonna dictate where I take it. For now, it is kind of just a side gig. I would like to continue doing the kind of videos I've been doing, but also expanding into other types of media, but for now, I'm just gonna play it and see where it goes. Why the name Foxcade? Is there a reason behind it, or was it just a name that you came to? Originally it was actually gonna be something closer to Starcade, as I wanted something that had the word arcade in it, but I found out that was the title of an 80s TV show, and eventually that was also the title of JonTron's Star Wars video game series that he did. And considering the discourse around his name, I think I made the right choice in not going with that. But I still wanted the Cade in the name, and I was like, oh, Foxes are cool, Foxcade. That's basically as far as that name went. What games that have come out this year have you most enjoyed? Also, are you mostly just going to talk about character action games now, or talk about video games in general? In regards to the games from this year, probably the one I've spent the most time on is actually Dragon Ball FighterZ. That game is just so fun to play. Even when I'm getting wrecked, I'm still enjoying myself, which is, I think, something that's very good for fighting games. And in regards to the character action stuff, I definitely do want to do more video games in general. I do like that character action games have kind of become associated with the channel, but it's not the thing I only want to do. I think the only reason it got associated that hard is because of the timing of the DMC videos, and the DMC5 announcement just kind of ended up having all these Devil May Cry character action videos put really close together. But I'm looking forward to eventually moving to other topics because I've been kind of deadlocked with the character action stuff recently. What series of games do you look forward to reviewing on the channel? Side note, keep up with the quality content. Thank you. I don't know what I'm looking forward to specifically. I've admittedly already started, writing down stuff for Bayonetta 2, which should come out in the near future. I also have plans to do something big for Halloween. I don't want to say something specific, but it is a game I really love. And I also really want to eventually get to doing the Arkham Asylum games, as well as something to do with Kingdom Hearts now that 3 is coming out. Honestly, I always have a bunch of stuff that I have jotted down notes for video ideas, but it kind of just depends on what strikes me at the moment. Will this channel see other types of content such as Let's Plays or casual live streams? It's definitely something I want to do. I've been saying for months that I want to get a Twitch channel of some kind going, but I just haven't taken the time to sit down and get that started. But I definitely want to do something as a supplementary content for people that just really want more. I don't know about dedicated Let's Plays, but again, we'll kind of see where the cards lie, because I don't want to say nothing will happen. But for right now, I'm kind of just figuring out how I want to handle that kind of thing. What's your favorite thing about being a YouTuber? Honestly, as cliched as it sounds, I think it's probably stuff like this, where I really get to interact with people, either from YouTube or just you guys in the comments. It just kind of makes it a little bit more fulfilling than just seeing numbers go up, and it's really great seeing people actually engage with the stuff I do. And even if people have critiques, as long as it's constructive, I even appreciate that. Honestly, as cliched and hackneyed as it sounds, it's getting feedback and talking with you guys, and that's what makes this enjoyable to do and makes me want to make more videos. Will you pull my devil trigger? Seeing as though Capcom has found success in remaking the original Resident Evil games, how likely would you say it is that they start remaking classic Devil May Cry games if Devil May Cry 5 is successful? I don't know how likely it is, but it is something I would genuinely love to see, especially with Devil May Cry 1, because as much as I love Devil May Cry 1 as it is, it also genuinely sticks out very much compared to the later games as being a prototype for what it would be. I usually tell people it's almost closer to a Resident Evil game than a later Devil May Cry game, because it's that weird transitionary period where Kamiya was trying to make Resident Evil 4 and then it became Devil May Cry 1. So it would be cool if they went back and remade Devil May Cry 1, keep the same story, but just kind of revamp the engine and the gameplay to something a bit closer to 3. Again, I don't know how likely it is, especially because Kamiya is no longer with Capcom, but it is something I would love to see, especially if Devil May Cry 5 is super successful. What are your thoughts on Devil May Cry 5? Now that we've seen new trailer and gameplay, it is interesting to know what you think about it. Honestly, I don't know how much my thoughts have changed since the first trailer drop, in that I'm just overflowing with hype, but it is cool that we're getting all these little bits of detail to what the game's gonna be and what the gameplay is gonna be, especially with the stuff they're revamping. Like, they're changing how the charge shot works with Nero, where you don't have to hold the button anymore, and instead you have ammo. And I was surprised that they're making the Devil Breaker something that you find in the level, and you actually have to break it before you can switch to the next one, and it's not something you just kind of swap as you go. So it's going to be interesting to see how those mechanics play into the gameplay. But we also don't know how much Dante's stuff's changed and what exactly the new character is going to play as. I've heard a lot of talk that his is going to be more of a Kane style of gameplay, and he's also going to have summoning abilities. So I'm looking forward to the fact that V sounds to be drastically different from everybody else, which is really exciting because we've all played as Nero, we've all played as Dante. So it's really great that we're getting another new kind of playstyle that's going to play into it. But overall, I'm genuinely super excited for 5. I'm also really glad that we're seeing classic enemies be brought back. And it goes with the fact that this game seems to be very fan servicey. Like, they're really leaning into the fact that this is the game fans want. So as a fan of DMC5, I can't be happier. But it's also too early to say that this is like my game of 2018, because we've only really seen bits of Nero stuff and nothing else, but March genuinely can't come sooner. Are you a furry? If you could wish for a crossover between any franchise to be real, what would it be? If we're talking about willing any crossover to exist, my obvious answer would be Devil May Cry and Bayonetta. Another series I would actually love to see crossed over, though, is Silent Hill and Resident Evil. Those are two that are also very distinct, but I think putting them together could make something really cool. What is the best character action game you played that is not part of the Devil May Cry or Bayonetta series? I'd probably say Metal Gear Rising. There are probably games that are better designed, but Rising just spoke to me in a very specific way, so that's the one that I kind of go to by default. I want to say Wonderful 101, but that game's design is just so frustrating to deal with at times that I just can't in good conscience say that's the best one, so I kind of default to Metal Gear Rising. What other Gamescom games interested you this week? Sekiro Shadows Die Twice had a really good gameplay footage reveal, and it 100% is what I want. The Spyro trilogy is looking really good, and I'm actually kind of looking forward to that because I really loved Spyro as a kid. And now that I've seen proper gameplay of it, I'm definitely keeping an eye out for Cyberpunk 77. It's something everybody was kind of hyping up, and it looked alright from trailers, but now that I'm actually seeing demos played, it's something I'm definitely more invested in seeing where they take it. Oh, and Assassin's Creed I haven't played in a while, so I'm actually kind of looking into Odyssey now that we're seeing a little bit more of it. But I already knew I was going to buy it as soon as I knew it was Greek mythology, because that's the one I wanted forever. What games are you most hyped for other than DMC5 from the cluster of titles that will release end of 2018, early 2019? In terms of 2018, Smash Bros. Ultimate has definitely piqued my interest. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, the new Spider-Man game by Insomniac. In terms of 2019, I definitely am interested in Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, Kingdom Hearts 3, and Resident Evil 2 Remake. I'm also interested in seeing what Anthem's going to be like. I doubt I'm going to buy it, but I'm more watching it out of morbid curiosity because following the development has definitely been a trip, and considering this game might decide the fate of a developer, I'm kind of more watching this from the sidelines. How do you feel about the current state of games journalism, specifically about how a lot of them aren't particularly good at the game and then complain about a faux difficulty or learning curve for casuals? Example, Devil May Cry 5. This is definitely something that deserves a lot more time than a quick response. It's definitely something that's kind of needs addressing. Maybe some kind of podcast could talk about it, but I don't know where you would find one of those. Have you played Kingdom Hearts 2 or any other KH games? If so, what did you like about them? I adore Kingdom Hearts 2, and pretty much every other Kingdom Hearts game. I've played pretty much every Kingdom Hearts game aside from the mobile phone one. And I've made a couple snide remarks about the games on multiple occasions, but I genuinely love Kingdom Hearts. Like, that's a series that I have almost as much fondness for as Devil May Cry, considering I started playing them around the same time. I just haven't had the excuse to really do a proper video about them, but it is something that's a reward tier on my Patreon if you guys are interested in maybe seeing a retrospective series of some kind. You know, I'm just putting it out there. Just putting it out there. You can be a filthy shill all you want if you are very transparent about it. That's YouTube law. It's unpopular opinion time. What is a game that other people like but that really didn't click with you? I didn't really vibe with Last of Us. I see why people like it, but just it isn't for me. I think it has really good narrative techniques to it, but it just didn't do anything for me. I can see why people like it, but it just isn't for me. Are you a homosexual? If you could have a revival for any long-dormant franchise, whether that be a remake, remaster, reboot, Electric Boogaloo, or sequel, which ones do you have in mind? For me, I'd like to see Silent Hill and Castlevania come back, because while I'm not a major fan of those series, it really bums me out that those have just kind of stopped happening because Konami just wants to make more pachinko games. Both of these series are just so unique and just need to come back. What do you think about Shadow Hearts Covenant? Will you make a video about Okami? Despite the incessant ravings of a certain unnamed individual, Ryan, I have not played Shadow Hearts Covenant. It's definitely something I'm really interested in and would like to try, but it just hasn't been made easily accessible to me quite yet, so I just haven't taken the time to try to get into it, but it is something that I will eventually get to. With Okami, I'd like to do a video about Okami, but the big thing that's preventing me is the fact it is so long, and kind of needlessly long at that. I'd like to play a game in full before I do a proper video on it, or at least try to do a full playthrough of it. And with Okami, that's a good 60 hours or so, and like I said, I'd like to, but that's a really big prohibitor of it. But it's something I might do in the future. Do you believe the resurgence of action games and story-based linear games is the cause of only having survival zombie games and mindless shooters for the last decade? 100%, but not in a really negative way. It's just games go through trends. Go back to the arcades in the early 90s and everything was trying to be Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat, and go to the PC games mid 95 and all you'd find would be Doom clones. It's just whatever currently is popular, that's what a lot of the devs are going to be kind of racing to. So for a long time, the popular thing was zombies and shooters. So now we're kind of going towards more stuff like The Last of Us, and we're likely going to see a lot of battle royale games quite soon. So it's not something that's really shocking. It's just once you follow games enough, you notice that every 5 to 10 years there's a new cycle that starts. Hey Fox, have you ever played Warframe before? If so, who's your favorite? I have played Warframe before, but that was back in 2013 when the PS4 came out, and Warframe was one of the few games currently on the system. And that was also when Warframe was still in its very early versions. So I played an entirely different version than what most people are currently playing in 2018. So I can't really say anything proper about it. I liked it. I've heard it's gotten really good recently, so I'll likely try to get back into it at some point, but for now I don't really have much opinions on it. What is your most hated game? I don't know if there's a game I hate with like a burning passion, but something that frustrates me to my core is Mighty Number 9. I wanted to like that game so much when it came out, and it just disappointed me on every level, especially because it got pushed back so much during development, and yet there's all these design mistakes that should have been fixed. Like, half those levels fundamentally don't work, or I could see what they were trying to do, but it just fatally missed the mark. And it almost retroactively makes me concerned about Mega Man 11 because it made me question my tastes about Mega Man games. Like, that's how much Mighty Number 9 frustrated me. After your discussion podcast thing with Codex, are there any more collaboration videos in the works? There definitely is some things in the work in the background. I obviously can't say what, but in terms of like collaboration videos, nothing in the foreseeable future. The thing about collaboration videos is it takes a lot of organization and figuring things out, because you're not only worried about your script and your line work, you're also kind of working with someone else. And if you're not both working in sync and putting stuff together, especially in regards to analysis videos, it can be a little bit disjointed. So it takes a lot of organizing to get that kind of thing worked. But it's also not something I'm against doing again in the future. What are your thoughts on the Persona 5 anime? Decent supplementary material, but in no way a replacement of the original. The game is just infinitely better in every way. The anime does add little details here and there that the game didn't properly do, but it also falls so flat in regards to the animation in a lot of key moments. When you're dealing with something that's all about style and presentation, when you can't really properly convey that in animation, it's really disappointing to see. Why haven't you done a proper Persona 5 video yet? It is something that I was going to do a while back. I wanted to do something in regards to style equaling substance with Persona 5 because I think the aesthetic of Persona 5 really ties in nicely to the themes that that game is trying to present. And I thought that would have been a decent topic to cover, but when I talked to someone online about it, they made a point that it was kind of past the time for a Persona 5 video because it was getting late into 2017, which I kind of see the point to, but I'm also disappointed in myself that disheartened me from doing a video like that. But I was also still quite small at the time, so I was still kind of concerned on what I should be doing and what would bring more people in, so. But I will be doing a Persona 5 video at some point, I just don't know when. What got you into the Persona series? How do you feel about it in this moment in time? And what is your personal favorite Persona game? Currently, Persona is probably one of my favorite RPG franchises. I don't know if I'd say it's my absolute favorite, but it's definitely very high up there because I love the aesthetic of those games, the stories they tend to tell, the music, just everything in terms of a package deal is something that I really love. What got me into the series was the fact that Persona 4 Golden got put onto the Vita, which I desperately needed games for, so I picked up Persona 4 Golden on a whim, and it kind of came to me at the perfect time because I was in my late teens, early 20s, and Persona 4's themes are something I needed to hear because it's all about how we see ourselves and how we think other people see us, especially through the lens of social media and just media in general, and how that can kind of warp us in very dark ways. And that was something that I was kind of dealing with at the time myself, so seeing a game addressed in such a way kind of hit me very personally, and that's also why Persona 4 is my personal favorite game of that franchise, because I have such a personal connection to it that I just can't really see any of the other games having with me, even though I like them equally. I know you like Persona, but what's your opinion about Shin Megami Tensei games, mainline or spin-off? I definitely like them, but I also haven't played enough of them. I've played a healthy part of 4, and that's another game I have to go back and finish at some point. And there's other games in the series that I'm kind of waiting for a more accessible version of. Namely, I'm waiting for an eventual port of Tokyo Mirage Sessions to be put onto the Switch. I could get it for the Wii U, but that would also mean that I'd have to blow off all the dust off my Wii U, and I really don't want to play anything on the Wii U now that I have a Switch. What's your favorite Pokemon? Without a doubt, it's Gengar. I've loved that Pokemon since I was a little kid, and it frustrated me to no end that the only way you can get him is through trading, because a lot of the time I was playing Pokemon by myself. And probably one of the most frustrating gaming moments of my life is the fact that in Pokemon Platinum, in the 4th gen, there's a trader that will trade you a Haunter. And I thought, oh, amazing, there's a way that I can get Gengar without needing to do the trade system. And when you do the trade, you're presented with a Gengar that's holding an Everstone, which stops it from evolving. And I stopped playing that specific Pokemon game forever out of sheer annoyance. And if you don't believe my Gengar love goes that far, here's my Gengar half sleeve. What else are you doing in your life besides YouTube? Are you a university student or something like that? I actually just finished university as of last semester. I finished a Bachelor of Arts in Communications and Media Studies. So basically, I'm trained to work at McDonald's. What are your hobbies? Before university interfered with it, I was really into martial arts, namely Muay Thai and boxing, which I was actually training to be a junior coach in. And I'd like to go back, but another hobby that kind of indirectly interfered with it is rock climbing, which I started doing this year until I severely rolled my ankle, which has made it hard to move around in the boxing ring. So I'm considering training in Aikido instead, just for the meantime, because I've heard that that would be a little bit less pressure on my ankle. I also used to play soccer, and I'm trained in playing guitar, but it's been quite a while since I practiced. If you could only play 3 games for the rest of your life, what would they be? Civ 5, Bayonetta 1, Bloodborne. Is there any anime you want to get into? Kaiji is something I've tried multiple times to sit and watch, but just for whatever reason haven't. I don't know why, but every time I open the player, something occurs and I just don't finish the episode. So one of these days I'll finally watch it. What kind of music do you like, and who are some of your favorite artists? I have a pretty wide range of stuff I listen to, but in terms of stuff that I regularly listen to, aside from anime openings and video game OSTs, the stuff I listen to most hasn't really changed much since high school, so a lot of Linkin Park, Breaking Benjamin, Rise Against, basically anything you'd find an angsty teen in the late 2000s listening to, that's likely what I'm currently listening to. What type of video games do you like playing beside action games? Or what's your favorite video game genre outside of the fake subgenre you so religiously talk about on this channel? And what's your favorite game from that genre? The top 2 would basically be horror and strategy games. For horror, my top picks would be between Resident Evil 4 and Bloodborne, and with strategy, it would be between Civ 5 and Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced. I know those aren't the best of those genres, but those are the ones that I've spent the most time with. Favorite manga? If you're not into manga, why is that? I love manga. I'm pretty sure I've read more manga than I've read American-style comics. In terms of favorites, I feel like there's a big one I'm forgetting about, so for right now I'll say Hajime no Ippo. Do you watch anime? If so, what would you recommend? I'm currently watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Diamond is Unbreakable, and Hunter x Hunter. I would recommend Monster and Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Do you like fighting games? I love fighting games, actually. Earlier this year I got an arcade stick so I could get better at them, because quarter circles are the bane of my existence. In terms of what I'm currently playing, it would be Dragon Ball FighterZ and Street Fighter V, and I'm looking to get into Tekken 7 and Guilty Gear Xrd Rev 2. I have a few questions here that are basically top 5 games, top 5 movies, top 5 anime, so I'm gonna put them all together here, and I'm gonna try to spread them across genres just for the sake of diversity, but I also want you to consider that this is my list as of right now, and that might change even between me recording this and me uploading this. So this is more my top 5 as of right now. For top 5 games, it would be Nier Automata, Bloodborne, Transistor, Persona 4, and Resident Evil 4. For movies, it's The Dark Knight, Aladdin, Empire Strikes Back, Terminator 2, and Blazing Saddles. And for anime, it's Gurren Lagann, Monster, Hajime no Ippo, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, and Cowboy Bebop. When Otacon visited Snake at his cell, he gave him Sniper Wolf's handkerchief, rations, ketchup, and which level of security card? 6. What's your social security number? Joke's on you, I don't have a social security number. I'm a filthy socialist Canadian, so I actually have a social insurance number, but nice try. Are you ticklish? Yes. Please don't tickle me. Do you like Metal Gear, and what are your thoughts on the Phantom Pain? Will you do a Metal Gear retrospective? I really like Metal Gear, but I've only finished 3 Phantom Pain and Ground Zero, so I need to go back and finish up with the rest of the series. With Phantom Pain, my thoughts are really complicated on it, but I also find the development story of it really interesting. So I might cover that in a retrospective video of some kind, but I also don't think I'll be doing a full series like I did with Devil May Cry. Do you have plans to do a Platinum Retrospective like you did with the Devil May Cry series? Please do, and do Ninja Gaiden as well. I 100% will be covering Platinum games. Now that the Devil May Cry series is done, I'm going to continue forward just going through other character action games, so Ninja Gaiden is also a game that's likely going to come up at some point. Do you plan on doing a retrospective on series like God of War? It's not something I have planned out yet, but it is something I'm considering. What do you think Dante's chances of being in Smash are? Almost zero, but not impossible, especially since Negan was announced in Tekken 7, which basically threw out the window every idea of what a guest character could be. What are your thoughts on Smash Ultimate, and who are you going to main? After the most recent Direct, I'm much more interested in getting Ultimate. When they first announced it, I wasn't that interested, but after seeing all the content they're adding in and all the new things they're putting in, like having a Smash meter, I'm definitely going to get this day one. For who I'm going to main, the obvious joke is that it's going to be Fox, but I'm actually more than likely going to be playing Little Mac because I like boxer characters. Do you think Capcom have redeemed themselves, or do you think there's room for improvement? Well, considering Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite was only last year, and the Sherlock Holmes Ace Attorney game still hasn't been localized, there definitely still is room for improvement. But considering their recent releases and announcements, Capcom definitely is on an uptick as of late. I mean, Resident Evil 7 was a major return to form, Monster Hunter World finally made the series much more accessible to new players, and Capcom announced a bunch of games a lot of people thought weren't coming back, like Mega Man, DMC, and as of recording this, Onimusha? So I don't know what's going on at Capcom HQ, whether it be a shift in management or it's just taken them this long to get a lot of these changes enacted, but they're definitely on the way to improving themselves for the better and redeeming themselves in the eyes of the fans. Music integration in games has been showing up more and more, especially with DMC5. What are some other types of music integration you'd like to see in the future? One I'd really like to see, though I don't know how easy it would be, is something akin to Killer Instinct's menu navigation, where moving about the menu plays the notes of the original theme, while a backtrack plays in the background. But I'd like to see something like that in combat, where every strike of an enemy plays a note, and that creates the music that goes with the backtrack. Do you plan to make any videos about Sekiro Shadows Die Twice or FromSoft in the future? If I enjoy Sekiro Shadows Die Twice even half as much as I enjoyed Bloodborne, you can be guaranteed I'll do a video about it. Coffee or tea, coffee, Coke or Pepsi, Coke, boobs or butts? Sir, how dare you bring this kind of language onto my channel? This kind of disrespectful attitude will not be tolerated here. People are not objects to be ogled at. That is not what this channel is about. Butts.
So there's something you like about me, huh?
Yeah, you got a great butt.
What do you think about the Yakuza franchise? Have you played it? If so, which ones? And did you like it? I've only really played 0 so far, but I really enjoyed it. I mean, how can you not like a game that somehow mixes really intense gangster crime stories with a side quest where you teach a dominatrix how to be a better dominatrix? Also, Kuze and the other lieutenants are probably some of my favorite villains in recent memory. What were some of the coolest things you saw on your Japan trip? It's really hard to narrow it down to just a few moments because I think every day I was able to find something cool, But to name a few key moments, that would be the Monkey Park in Kyoto, the deer in Nara Park, the many arcades I was able to find because I really miss being able to go to arcades, and the VR Evangelion ride at Universal Studios Japan. And that's not even mentioning the many amazing cultural sightseeing places you can find across Japan. And with that, we come to the final question. Will you make any videos related to anime? I definitely do want to, but the question is, where would I even start?
After his triumphant take over Japan, Fox returns to find that he needs to go back to making new videos. Realizing he can only put it off with Q&As for so long, he decides to cover a topic that no one asked for, which will lead to either success or ruin.
Next time on the channel, One Piece Retrospective, the story behind the phenomenon. I'm gonna be king of the YouTubers. God, I can't believe I just said that.